All right. Hi, I'm David Noble, the director of the Worth Institute at the University of Connecticut. I'm here today with Shani. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure.
So I got started working with an entrepreneurship institute, raised $30-40 million, building out startups for students, with students, about students. And it got where it was really quite stale. And I came up with this idea for creatorship. I started looking at what kids were doing and young people, and they were just creating things and helping other people create things. So, that's really where I've been trying to go and develop classes, content, workbooks, anything I can to help young students learn that, hey, just start helping people, right? And when I looked at your bio and where you came from before you blew up, you were working with content creators. Why would you start doing that?
It's again, thanks for having me. This will be fun. Yeah, I started working with the video editors, I started working with creators because when I had an internship, it was a sales internship, and they asked anybody if they knew how to edit a video because they needed this video on a tight deadline and they didn't have any internal video staff, and it would have been too much to contract someone so quickly. So I volunteered to do it. I had never edited video really before at all, but it just seemed like something I could do. And then it worked out, and I really enjoyed the process of video editing. And I also played a lot of games growing up, so I wanted to edit for gamers. And then I ended up emailing like 100 different esports teams, and the one that I most wanted to get back to me did. So I worked with them for a while, for a couple of years. And I just started getting this feeling like I kept learning so much every day about the content process, and just felt like I'm ready to take a stab at it myself now.
Was it getting in the door with the e-gaming team that really motivated you, or what was that like? Most people never go and email.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I tried everything. Like I tried email, Twitter, like pretty much any way. I just told myself like I'm going to get in contact with one team and I ended up getting that job because I had played games with the coach of one of the teams. Like I was good enough at the game where I was playing with some of the best players in the world that it was like I was able to use that as like a warm lead kind of, but like, yeah. So
when I tell my friends
that
are my age that esports is a big business, they can't even contemplate it, right?
Yeah.
Forget my parents, right? Where my parents are still yelling at kids to get off the computer, stop playing with that, don't TikTok, like get in the real life.
Yeah.
What about that content creation work or that content support work excited you that the sales internship didn't?
Yeah, so I think everything is selling in one way or another. Like I think like you have to sell a vision, and for me, like it was a way to combine both of my interests of filmmaking and sales. Like I was still selling the vision. I wasn't selling a product, I was selling a vision. So I think that just content creation gives me a chance to just have like 10 different jobs. Like I'm a script writer, I'm an editor, I'm a filmmaker, like I'm like 10 different things. So it gives me a chance to do that.
That's a great point. When someone asks you, what do you do?
Yeah.
What's your answer?
I make YouTube videos.
You make YouTube videos. Are you an entrepreneur?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you an entrepreneur or do you make YouTube videos?
I'm both. I like straight up, I make YouTube videos, but I support myself doing it. So I'm an entrepreneur by definition.
What would you do if you had nothing to do this afternoon?
Yeah, well, I feel like I always have something to do, but if I truly like, as in like, I don't know, I don't even know how to think about that question because it's like,
yeah, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the hustle.
If I'm just walking around, especially if I'm not with other people, I'm thinking about videos. Like there's never a moment in my life where I'm not thinking about a video unless I'm in like a super stimulating conversation with someone or I'm like playing a game. Otherwise, like I'm thinking about videos.
What do you think about the videos? Are you thinking of the creation process or the content?
I'm thinking about pretty much everything, but mostly what am I going to say in that first few sentences? Because if I figure out like what I'm going to say in my hook, then that's like the concept behind the video. Like, can I sell this? Like, yeah, I'm thinking about what would make a good video. Thinking about what's happening in the world today. How can I put my spin on it? And then I would say like half of my time is spent thinking that, and then the other half of my time is spent thinking about like, all right, what do I truly want to be doing? Just like making sure that I'm doing what I absolutely love every day, because that's important to me.
You know, people talk about that in the context of career, right? Especially with younger people. Do what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Were you passionate about making YouTube videos at 12?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I mean, I think the do what you're passionate thing about is kind of overrated in the sense of like, I think you should try a bunch of things, and then it's very easy to be passionate about something you're good at. Like it
100%.
is a lot easier. And YouTube became more of a passion for me when I was making money doing it. Like a lot of people won't say it. Like, okay, I'll say it. Like that's just the way it is. Like I loved it, and I loved it way before I was making money. Of course I did. But like it's different when it's a job. Like if you're a 13-year-old kid making videos in your bedroom, like that's great. You don't have to be making money. But like if you're an adult and like you're trying to make it look like, yeah, like you do have to figure it out. Like so yeah.
Yeah, like you gotta pay rent.
Yeah. Like,
unless you want to live with mom and dad, right? I mean, I think, you know, that one of the really interesting pieces of creatorship for me is it's more about a journey to entrepreneurship, right? It's like that positive feedback loop that is such a dopamine high, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm good at this. I didn't know I was good at I can paint.
Yeah.
I had no idea I could paint till I was like 40, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun, right? So, I mean, I think that gets people really, really excited about their life and their career is to be great. Yeah. I think you have the quantitative evidence that your content's hitting. How do you perceive getting better and getting to be just truly excellent?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I know evidently like my content has gotten views, but I really do still consider myself a beginner in some sense. Like I never forget that, because I know that there are people like Mr. Beast and people that are just like absolutely crushing it more than me. And like, I just think about what can I learn from them. And I think just, I almost like forget the original question, but I just wanted to make it clear that like, I don't think of it as just like, oh, my content's crushing, like keep going. I think of it as like, how can I make my content 10 times better? Like, I don't think of how to make it a little bit better. I'm just like, obviously day to day, I'm thinking like, okay, little adjustments, but I am obsessed with the idea of making my videos 10 times better, because then I'm going to get 10 times the views.
Yeah, no, I mean, the other piece that the corollary to that positive feedback loop of being good is like being the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally believe if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a movie star, you want to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
You're not going to get there trying to be anything but the best in the world.
That's true.
So the 10X improvement really hits home with me. Like, I want to run the best entrepreneurship institute in the world.
Yeah.
Am I going to do what they do at Michigan? No, I'm going to invent a whole new way of bringing students into that space.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I think it's like 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, somewhere in that range. And some kid is sitting there with 84 thinking, oh man, I wish.
Yeah.
But you're sitting there wishing like you were better at what you do.
Yeah.
Do you see the numbers as a reflection of your quality, or are you able to separate at this point and go, that was good content and it didn't hit the way it should have?
Yeah, I think that's tricky. I go back and forth a little bit. Sometimes like I'll make a video, like a short, and it'll only get like 80K views, and I'll think like the stats were good. I thought it was good and it didn't hit. And then eventually I'm like, yeah, that video wasn't good enough. Like I just go by the views. Like if a video got 15 million views, 20 million views, I'm like, okay, like that really hit, then it was a good video. So I do use views as an indicator for quality, definitely. And I just look at trends on my views. Like if I see a certain person I'm covering is not bringing in views, I'm like, all right, well, part of it is how I'm covering it is not good enough. And also maybe that person is not someone that people want to have analyzed as much anymore as they did 3 months ago. Like, so I think there's an innovation cycle that's like every 3 months. Like if you're not innovating every 3 months on YouTube, like you're going to lose.
because the audience is moving that fast.
Yeah, like truly, like I was unbelievably naive to think that wasn't the case when I started YouTube. Like when I had like my blow up month, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep blowing up like this. I'm gonna like just keep doing what you're doing, and like no, like you have to go up, up, up. You have, I don't know, you have to keep climbing, because that's what the audiences are doing, because everyone else is bettering themselves. So if you're not bettering themselves, you're really falling behind. So
yeah, that lightning in a bottle feels good though, right? Like that month.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Right.
Of course.
So a lot of, you're lucky to catch it once in your life, and a lot of people spend their whole life chasing that moment.
Yeah.
How do you contextualize what you're doing as a business versus that virality, that spike?
Yeah. Going viral is my business. So it's like every day I'm engineering virality. So I just have to think like, okay, what would hit the hardest to the most amount of people? And I think that makes my content much better, because a lot of folks say, do what you would watch. Yeah, to a certain extent, but I don't have the luxury to do that. Like I have to also make what other people would watch as well. Like I mean, like Christopher Nolan, one of my probably my biggest idol, has said like I make movies that I want to watch. He has the luxury also to do that because he's one of the greatest film minds in the world, probably the best, and he's also worth almost $1 billion, and he has the ability to like spend 5 years on a failure. Like he has that option. So it's just different. Like I'm aware of like people saying like, oh, you do what you love, and then other people will love it. Like, yeah, but it's to a certain extent. Like you do also have to make stuff like that other people would watch as well.
Yeah, and you have to pay bills, right?
Yeah,
you have to sell. Yeah. We used to always call them posers or sellouts or this or that, right? But the reality is that's what drives the industry.
Yeah.
I really love content about content. And people would never believe, if you went back to when I was in college, you wouldn't be able to explain that. Right. But what is it that what pulled you into that space?
Just content in general?
Yeah, just like
making
the
content
style.
about content. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'm just super obsessed with what influence creators have. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I can't get over it. And I can't get over it I'm sure for the rest of my life. Like, it's fascinating. How can one individual by accident start a riot in New York? Like, he literally was just doing a giveaway, and he has that many fans, and Kaisana has that many fans that are in the air. Like, Mr. Beast, like he opens up his first local burger joint. I understand, they're suing each other now, but like at the time, to have 10,000 burgers sold in a day, to set the record just because you're a creator and you have it, like, that's insane. So I was of course hooked by that, because that's clearly where the world is heading. Like these are the next celebrities. Like,
so they are our celebrities, right? Yeah. I mean, they clearly are. And there will be no doubt a point in time where all of your movie stars come from social influence. Why? Because they're going to bring the eyeballs to the TV, right?
Exactly.
There's no chance that's not the case.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I find really interesting about your story is the acceptance of the world. Mm-hmm. Most people, when I talk about this in the business school, think I'm crazy. There's nothing unique happening. There's nothing unique. It's just all business as usual. And yet you're saying, I'm obsessed with the influence that content creators have.
Yeah,
right?
I am, truly.
Why, what is pulling you? Have you started to tease out some of the layers of that influence that I'm obsessed with power? Just so I can tell you, I love to watch how it's used. I think about it. I think about how people are using it, why they're using it here, not there. I have the same obsession, right? And it's power as opposed to influence, highly correlated.
Yeah.
What is it about influence that really like turns you on?
I just love how we all start on a level playing field. Like, look at the biggest influencers in the world. They don't come from an influencer family. A lot of them don't come from any money at all. Like, they just made it on their own, purely from grit. and intelligence. Like Mr. Beast lying to his mom about going to class when he was making videos and having to have a viral video, or else he'd have to actually go to school, and he had to, I mean, the extent, like Kai Cenat was in a homeless shelter, like the things that these people have gone through to get to where they are, to now have that level of influence and not be bought and paid for. Like they're a lot of these guys, they can change platforms. They don't have mega investors backing them, telling them where to do. Like they're just kids. They're these kids in their 20s and teenagers that are just like, that just blows my mind that, like, I don't know, there wasn't like crazy outside help. I don't know. And the fact that they can convert people into a buying decision, like how Mr. Beast can create a chocolate bar company and it can do 10 million in sales in a month. Like this is actual influence. We're no longer at the stage of people being like, maybe I'll buy a t-shirt. No, they're starting multi-billion-dollar businesses now. Like this blows my mind.
What gets me really excited as well, because I feel you, is you don't have to be a computer nerd in a basement for 5 years.
Yeah.
You don't have to get millions of dollars of funding to blow it up.
Yeah.
You can be white, black, Hispanic, Asian. There's no formula, right? And I think man, woman, it doesn't, gender fluid, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The inclusivity of influence is truly interesting in my opinion. Because like, how does Charlie D'Amelio know to grow 150 million users off dancing?
Yeah.
Right? She loves dancing. You love content. So it's not surprising, like looking back, right?
Yeah.
It's not surprising that your content would catch on. Where do you see yourself going as a person? Not just a creator, but as a person.
I mean, I see myself my identity is so tied toward what I'm doing for work, like that it's almost impossible for me to differentiate between those two things. Like, I think that I want to have like one of the biggest talk shows in the world for influencers and creators. Like I want to show the world different sides of influencers and who they really are and what it really is like to be a creator. Like I'm on a journey to show the world what it's really like to be a creator. And it could take 5 years, it could take 50, I don't know, but it's what I'm dedicating my life to.
If your hypothesis is right, you'll be doing it forever.
Yeah.
Like it's not a declining.
Yeah, exactly. Like I there's no possible way I'll lose interest in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's no way.
So a lot of people run into burnout, they run into these things because they're working in a staid environment.
Yeah. Right?
Like your one trick didn't work, right? After it worked for a long period of time. How do you, and I think there's a framework to what you're doing that allows you to move past that, but how do you start to think about burnout as a content producer, as an entrepreneur, as a young man?
I think burnout comes when you're not seeing results in your work. Like, I don't think it's related too much to, for me, okay? Like it's different for someone like Mr. Beast and Elon Musk because they're pushing the limits of human ability. Like truly, like they're working like 16, 18 hour days. I don't work 16 to 18 hours a day. But I do work hard. And I think that I end up hitting this burnout because I'll like work, let's say I'll put in 10 hours into a video and it'll flop. That's really tough. That will never not be difficult because it's just when you set an expectation for yourself that something will work and it doesn't, that's really crushing. So that's how I feel about burnout, is like lowering expectation is a good way to like avoid it for me. And also to just continually believe in what I'm doing over the course of a year or a couple of years rather than day to day. Like if a video doesn't work out one day, like it's okay. Tomorrow you'll learn from that and you try again tomorrow. Like that's what I think.
I work with a lot of elite college athletes, and that ability to forget the video that didn't work, that's important. How do you deal with that? Because it's still on YouTube, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm so sure of myself that I will eventually figure it out. That the only way I won't, like, I forget who said it. I think it was like Thomas Edison. It's like basically the only way to ensure failure is that you quit. Like otherwise, like you'll figure it out. Like just don't quit. Like it's that simple. Literally, just do not quit. I remind myself that every single day, just to not give up no matter what. Because as long as I don't do that, then whatever, I'll figure it out.
What are the three content creators that really you can't wait till the next thing drops right now?
Yeah, there's not many like that in the world, to be honest. All right, so of course, Mr. Beast, and let's see.
What about, you keep hitting him? Is it the biggest? Is it he's the best? What is it that you feed off of on that?
I mean, for one, like I cover Jimmy's content every day. Like I talk about Mr. Beast every day of my life for the past 6 months. So like he is a portion of my brain, but also he is just going about content correctly. Like he is approaching it. He's putting in millions of dollars into his videos. That's one thing, but also it's just that he's making the best videos in the world by a significant margin. Like he's averaging 100 million views a video on long form videos that the next closest thing is like 10, 20 million views. Like he's just so far and away that how can we not study him? Like that's my response to all that is like, how can we not be obsessed with that? Like he's crushing the competition. Like it's as if Usain Bolt raced against everyone else and they were like 5 seconds behind. Like that's what it feels like right now. So yeah, that's just what makes me obsessed about his work.
Who else is in there that gets you excited?
So to be honest, like it's tough to say like who excited about the next thing. I mean, I Show Speed, that's true. Like I Show Speed, like he's often doing things that are just absolutely crazy. But to me, it's less about, and this goes so much about my content, it's less about the next video that they do and more about just the next thing that they do. Because I'm invested into their lives and how they live their life. So if something crazy happens to them while they're going out for coffee, like that's interesting to me. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is a YouTube video or something that was caught on stream. Like, it could be something that happened in their life. Like if a streamer buys their parents a house, like great. Like I want to know what the house is. I want to know what the process was for him. Like that's just the truth, you know? Like I'm not looking for necessarily the next video, but more so just the next thing they do in their life.
When I deal with students, especially young, 18, 19, 20, they're all obsessed with the job they're going to get out of college. What is the job I'm going to get? And I try to talk to them like, that job is not the rest of your life. It's the next thing.
Yeah.
The next thing.
That's true.
You get to reinvent that day in and day out. And that impact of influence, that next thing, to me, that's a big piece of what influence actually is. It's we're looking to the world to see what's the next thing. Much like Usain Bolt, we can't run as fast as him. We're not as good at coming up with the next thing as Mr. Beast. I see that over and over again where that's what a trend is, right? I mean, it's built into the fabric of social media. What's trending? How much is what's trending? How much is the statistics behind your last video or someone else's video? How much is influencing your creative process?
A ton. I mean, a ton. Whether it's just inspiration or actually something that makes me go to my desk and start writing. Like, because sometimes it's just inspiration. Sometimes I'm just, again, floored by the level of influence. Like Ariana Grande, who I understand is not technically an influencer because she's above an influencer in some regards, in the sense of like the word influencer is attributed to folks who, let's say, have like 5 million followers or lower or something like that. But eventually, like, you surpass just being an influencer and you're either like a singer, songwriter, whatever it is. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you kind of go about it. So Ariana Grande, like when her divorce was going through, like there were several tweets, several TikToks that were getting millions of likes within an hour. Like it just blows my mind. So I'll see that and think like, wow, I'm in the right industry. Like the level of interest in these people's lives is remarkable. So sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes it's just like being reminded that I'm in the right place. The other side of inspiration is like, if I do a video, it hits and I'm like, okay, can I do something similar? can I put a similar spin on another video or whatever it is. It's like I do really get very happy when a video works out because I can think to myself, okay, I'm onto something. I don't think there's any better feeling than thinking you're onto something. It's almost better than the actual results. Like the thrill of feeling like you're onto something is unmatched.
You have a believer here. I agree with you. When I was coming up with a lot of the creatorship thoughts and processes, it was right before the collegiate athletics went to this name, image, and likeness rule change.
Yeah.
Now, suddenly, every student athlete in America between 18 and 22 could do what you could do when you weren't. And that brought a notoriety to this concept of creatorship that didn't exist before, right? Now, and I said this, there's 612 new entrepreneurs at UConn, our student athletes. Every one of them should be using the brand to build on their own brand. Like that's a legitimizing force. The excitement that I went through when I'm dealing with that, like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I think I found the precursor to entrepreneurship, right? Like this is something that shows you're much more likely to go and become an entrepreneur if you do these things. And creation, whether it's painting, whether it's, building videos, photographs, modeling, all of these smaller things, tinkering, right? Like kids in garages playing with cars, with machines, taking apart their parents' appliances. Those people are much more likely to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we democratize that with a cell phone. So you see them.
True.
That got me so excited. It's not actually getting a minor through, right? It's not actually getting people to believe what I'm saying. It's seeing it in the world day to day.
Right.
Looking at your bio, looking at the work you're doing, looking at the authentic connection to that content and excitement. It's validating to me as well. And that's as motivating to keep pushing that envelope and seeing where can this go? Because I hypothesize, like, why wouldn't UConn be the East Coast hub for content creators?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, like, how could you? And I sit there in meetings and I'm like, how could we even second guess this? Because if I had 1,000 students out of 30,000 that were influencers, what's the free publicity value of that?
Yeah, it's really true.
Right. And I sit there and I wonder, like, how am I the only person talking about this at the university level?
Yeah. There's some amazing creators that got their start in college just interviewing people on campus. And like, honestly, I don't really believe in regret, but one thing I wish I did in college was create content that was centered around being in college. Being in college is a unique experience. A lot of people want to know what it's really like. And people, if they want to be creators and you're in college, like, you shouldn't wait. Like, yeah.
Bama Rush, right? Like that thing is crazy. I went to Alabama.
Yeah.
The fraternity system, sorority system is insane.
Yeah.
The content being created is next level.
Yeah.
Like, I could never imagine wanting to care, but then you do.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about business opportunities from where you're sitting now? How do you start to conceptualize and analyze, I should do this or I shouldn't do this?
Yeah.
As opposed to content, right?
Yeah. I think I am kind of stubborn to a fault of wanting to do what is currently kind of working rather than exploring something that I'm like 99% would work better, if that makes sense. So like, I have a friend who is like just demolishing in content, just like absolutely crushing. And he's very good at just dropping what he's currently doing to do something even crazier. He can do it on a dime. Like he can go from making 50K a month to just being like, nope, I'm going to make 100K a month doing this. Like, and he will stop. Like, so that's a remarkable trait of his that like, I don't know if I even want to / can adopt, because like, for example, like if you figure out as a YouTuber that you can make more money as a streamer, it's a tough decision to make because you're already good at one, but like you believe you have the qualities to be a good streamer. And you're like, okay, and maybe you can make 10x being a streamer. A lot of people would just be like, okay, screw it, like let's be a streamer, right? But I'm in the camp of like, no, like I don't want to leave, I don't want to leave like what I've already, what I already worked hard on. So it's like, I think that, exploring business opportunities as a creator, like if you can figure out a way to do what you currently do, but lower the amount of time you sink into it without lowering the quality while also doing other things. Like, again, bringing up Mr. Beast, like the videos did not get worse when he created his chocolate bar company. Like that's the idea. Like do not drop quality, but explore new opportunities. Like that's ideal for me.
It's like stick to that core that is working for you while looking at new opportunities.
I think you should always be exploring, but again, like I said, like there are other people who take it to an extreme and it's not wrong. Like sometimes people can be making great money doing well and just drop it because they're like so confident. It's risky. That is a risky approach, but it's a risky approach in an already risky world. Like entrepreneurs are inherently risk takers. Then you have entrepreneurs who decide to fly rockets and have them land back down by themselves. Like there's always another level of risk you can take in the entrepreneurship world. So it's crazy to like.
And you see people that make it sell their company and never want to invest in another entrepreneur. Like they're gonna guard their money over here, right? Yeah. I mean, you can see that whole range. You would expect it in content creation as well.
Yeah, it's the same way.
That's a funny point about Elon Musk, like buying Twitter.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like there's no, right? Like you've got Tesla.
Yeah.
You've got SpaceX, which the internet portion of SpaceX is going to own the entire world. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go buy Twitter.
Yeah.
Right? There is something, I think, also inherently sexy about content.
Yes.
That pulls people to it.
Yeah.
When did you realize people would listen to you? That they would care what you, Shani, have to say? Because I think there's an audacity in that.
Yeah, that was a crazy moment. I remember it was like, I think it's like January 13th or something. I had a video. It was a documentary. I probably sunk maybe like 100 hours into it, but and I had a team working with me, and it got like 1,000 views. I was so bummed. I'm like, oh my God, like really? I knew I was gonna keep creating. I promised myself I'm making 10 videos no matter what. I put it on my wall. We're making 10 videos. You better freaking do it. But I was home visiting family in Boston, and I check my phone and the graph is just this, like it's straight up from 1,000 views, and it's 10,000 to 100,000. And I was so happy. Like I was so over the moon. And that's when I realized like, okay, like I'm onto something potentially here. So I was very excited.
Were you surprised they'd listen to you?
I was, because I don't think anyone can expect that. Like that's not a number that you can grasp. Like I don't think anyone goes into thinking like 1 million people are gonna watch a documentary. I'm like, that's not, you want to believe that will happen, but it doesn't, you don't think it's gonna, I don't know.
Yeah. It's when you teach a class, it's the inverse of that. So you come in your first time thinking everybody's gonna hang on every word you have to say.
Yeah.
And you suddenly find out there's one kid in the front row and everybody else is busy doing something else. Right. And it's like, so it becomes almost a challenge.
Yeah.
It becomes that's how I learned that. And I also said at a very early time, I'm like, there are some people that just won't enjoy what I'm doing.
Sure.
Right. And there are some that will. And that's the group I'm building my courses for. And there is that piece. And I love that idea of like that moment where all of a sudden you realize like people will listen to me, because it requires an audacity to make a video and push it on YouTube that I truly respect. And most people, no matter how famous they are, no matter how successful they are too afraid to do that. Right. And so I think, building a business out of you that requires a level of bravery that most people are unwilling to accept. And so congratulations for that. I like to finish almost everything I've been doing up with an easy question. What are you most proud of? Like, what's that thing that you've built into that world that you're like, yeah, that's me. That's Shani. That makes me happy that I did that.
Yeah. I think I'm most proud of the sort of meta I helped create on YouTube. Like, I had an inspiration from someone, and I started making like 3 things you didn't know content. And I had a particular demeanor in the way that I talked, and I used certain words. And to have like 20 other channels start copying me was like, at first I was like, I mean, it's annoying, like, but the fact is, like, that's what happens on YouTube. Like, it's the jungle. Like, people, if you do something well, people copy you. And I think, like, I'm proud of the fact that I tapped into something. But honestly, if I had to like do that answer again, because the problem is that it's so tough to see proud of, because I want so much more than what I currently have. Like the fact is, like, I don't feel proud really ever, to be honest. Like, I'm proud that for example, just straight up, I'm proud that I have a video with 60 million views. Like, I'm just proud of that. Like, that's an insane amount of people who watch that. And like, it may sound shallow, but it's like, yeah, I'm just happy that number is that high. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, that's direct answer for that is like, yeah, that's a really high number, and I want to more of that number.
Yeah, you want to break it?
Yeah, of course I do.
You know, I think you got 9 figures left, right? Like, that's still out there.
I just want to, yeah.
I get it, man. I get it. I understand. Yeah. I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing good enough. I get it. Yeah. But do yourself a favor every once in a while. Take a moment and realize, like, you're accomplishing something that most people won't even try. And so there's a lot to be proud of in that. Thanks to Atu for pulling this together. Thank you, Chris, for doing the work, and thank you, Shani, man. Yeah, this was cool. Yeah. I'm glad the students will be able to hear your story, and whoever else chooses to listen and follow along.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a pleasure. Thank you.